The road to the White House begins here. Thank you all for supporting us tonight. Thank you so much. And now, a pleasure, we have a new co-chair. His name is Oliver Bardwell. And when I met Oliver, I confessed, I think you look like ZZ Top. Handsome, bald man with a beard. He rode up on his Harley. And little did I know that this guy is connected to so many people that I am not. And he took care of all 4 of my platforms. Free from mask mandates, vax mandates, CRT and child pornography in the schools, and the transgender bill. And all my platforms were submitted last cycle, and they all went up and they became laws. I mean, it's truly the grassroots in its finest. So, ladies and gentlemen, new co-chair, Oliver Bardwell.
Thank you so much, and give her another big round of applause. I tell you, I'm only here because she's so inspiring. Kelly Koch is a dynamo. And what she was talking about was a group called Iowans for Freedom that we started. If you're not a member, go to iowansforfreedom.org. We send out calls to action. All those planks that you turn in, we put them into action items, along with Moms for Liberty and yay, Moms for America. We all come together and we work on those. So tonight is a special night. We're going to honor our representatives. That's what we're here to do. We're here to party like patriots. We're going to have some question and answers that are going to be a little different than what you're used to. We've all heard the stump speeches, right? We've all heard the stump speeches, so now we're going to do something a little different. So I'm going to invite Jesse Green and David Young up to the stage. Come on up. Hey, good to see you. Yeah, come on up, come on up. David, nice to see you. So if you guys, we can start with David. David, if you want to introduce yourself and say a few words, and we'll go to Jesse. And
Well, first of all, what a great night. We have a lot at stake, right? We've got great leadership here with Kelly and Oliver. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm honored to represent House District 28, Southeast Dallas County, where I was born and raised. And I tell you what, the difference between Washington, D.C. and what we're doing here, we've got the majority in the House, we've got the majority in the Senate, and we've got a Republican governor, and we are getting things done. Isn't it awesome? Pro-life legislation, making sure that we are empowering parents, taking on ESGs and DEI, property tax, we're addressing that, and we're not done yet. The best thing, one of the best things I like about the job is I like the commute a lot better. It's 20 miles instead of 6 states away, but I'm excited about the next session. I'm excited about the presidential election. We have to beat Biden. I know that all of us around here are following different candidates, and that's okay. Let's flush this out to make sure that we have the strongest candidate, and let's take on Joe Biden in November 2024 if he's the nominee.
oh yeah. Here, let's switch. I said, oh yeah. Let's do it. Are you guys ready to party like patriots? Come on. Let's party like patriots. Jesse, what do you have to say about campaign funding, right?
Well, first of all, thanks for being here. I'm Senator Jesse Green. I represent the northwest part of Dallas County, which is Perry, Minburn, that area, Boone County, Dallas, part of Story, and all of Guthrie. So I just got elected in 2020, and it's just been an amazing experience. So this is the largest Republican trifecta since 1972. I am so blessed to be a part of this experience. And when you go back to 1972, back then there's actually some Republicans that were advocating for expanding abortion rights. So I can confidently say this is the most conservative time in Iowa history. And also I see my boss is here, Jack Whitfer. It wouldn't be possible without him and his leadership. And thank you for your sacrifices for helping me and helping me along this process. So Yes, right now, people have been asking, what are you going to be doing, Jesse? So for the first time, I'm going to announce right here, I am running again next year on the ballot.
All right.
And so I've been working my tail off the last few years, been basically just campaigning the whole time, trying to make sure that I do everything possible to make sure that the Senate maintains its majority. So all the time I'm thinking about what can I do to free up my time next year to potentially help others in their races as well as maintain my seat. And fundraising is a big deal. To put in perspective, a contested race in the metro area for the Senate is about $750,000. And in my race, I'm probably going to be very fortunate to raise somewhere $50,000 to $70,000. So my hope is that I've done my job appropriately to represent my district to make sure that hopefully I don't have an opponent if I've done my job right. I've been everywhere that I can possibly be. So the biggest help that I can get from you guys is your prayers, encouragement, and to help guys like David Young and Dan Galebaugh. We wouldn't have been able to pass what we've done without them. I was so proud when Dan got elected, and I knew I was 99% sure school choice was going to pass when I saw that he won his race. So anyway, thanks for having me.
So here's the question and answer part. David, what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day on the campaign trail?
Well, it used to be mowing the lawn, but the grass hasn't grown in a month. I think I'm raking it these days. It's like a shag carpet, but turn on some music, open a book, but spend time with family. My mom's here. Mom, how are you? She's one of my biggest allies. My dad can't make it tonight, but to be around people and to meet new people, and we were built for relationships. The good Lord built us for relationships with Him, and we should have that with others.
For sure. For sure. Jesse, what about you?
Senator Grassley actually inspired me about 5 years ago to start running 3 miles a day. And so every single morning when I wake up, I say my prayers and I go for a run. Anytime I feel anxious or stressed out at the Capitol, I go for a run. And that's been my secret to unwind.
That's awesome. That's awesome. David, do you have any unusual talents or hobbies that might surprise us?
Mom, do you? Those cameras are rolling.
Knitting.
I just like to be around people. I like to make them laugh. I'm always cracking a joke, but I am a serious person, and you have to be a serious person to run races and win them. I don't know if I have any serious talents. I ran track in college, but discovered that I wasn't going to be an Olympian because I liked playing cards and eating pizza at 2 in the morning, and that's not a good training.
Right.
So,
Well, maybe you guys can meet up at the Capitol and run together.
I could beat you.
Okay, I sense a race coming on, a challenge. 3 months from now, right in the middle of winter. How about you, Jesse? What do you have any unusual talents that might surprise us or hobbies?
Well, I'm a jack of all trades and master of none. I used to be a cowboy, actually. I rode bareback horses, and our family raises rodeo livestock. My sister passed away in an accident when I was a kid, and my dad got passionate about teaching kids how to ride horses and how to work with horses. So we ended up buying a huge herd of horses, about 60 head of them. So I'm either baling hay in my free time or checking fences, and so that would be one of my hobbies, and also playing cards. That would be my other hobby.
All right, so no card games with you. Do you play at the Capitol in the back room with Dan and some of those guys?
He's in the smoke-filled rooms, throwing cards.
Smoking cigars. All right.
Actually, we're pretty boring at the Capitol.
Yeah, I've seen you guys in action. It's can be exciting at times.
So the night that the Democrats kept us up till 5 in the morning, I definitely played cards that night.
I bet.
I wrote bills and prayed.
There you go. Do you have any family traditions or rituals that hold a special place in your heart?
I think about holidays a lot. making sure that wherever family is, we find a way to if they're short on funds, we get them together, because family is really what it's all about. And just making sure that faith is passed on through the generations. My grandfather, my mom's dad was a minister. He didn't start out that way, but he found the Lord. And so just continuing the tradition of faith is so important, and the love of country as well.
For sure, that's wonderful. And Jesse, how about you?
My favorite traditions is definitely Sunday mornings. It's my favorite time of every week, but also harvest time. We're going to start our family harvest in about 7 days. It takes about 7 to 10 people for us to run efficiently. So we get distant relatives and neighbors to come together and get the harvest in. And it kind of reminds me of campaigning and also being a part of this Republican family, is that there's a time where we need to come together and make sure we get the job done.
For sure. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And please give these guys a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Jesse, thank you. Yeah. And so next up, we're going to have Ron Purcell and Mark Hansen. Ron Purcell and Mark Hansen, come on up here. Introduce yourselves. Tell us about your campaign a little bit. And let's get to know you guys. Oops, they're corded mics right there. Yeah, this is what we want. We've heard about their platforms and all that stuff, but go ahead, Mark. Tell us.
I'm Mark Hansen, a county supervisor in Dallas County. When I started in 2004, I was first elected. The county had 40,000 people. Today we have 102,000 people. That's 60-some thousand new people, which is more than 77 of Iowa's counties have. So most of what we've been trying to do is just keep up with the growth, make sure that the county services are delivered, and I'm really pleased to serve with 2 other Republican supervisors, a Republican treasurer, a Republican recorder, a former Republican attorney that became a judge. But Ron will join us in the courthouse next go-round as a Republican elected
Fingers crossed.
county attorney.
All right, Ron.
Well, hello, everybody. This is quite a change. Normally at these events, you see me scurrying around, making sure everything's set up, trying to make sure Kelly can talk me off the ledge, organizing these events. I'm Ronald Forcell. I'm running for county attorney. I've worked in the county attorney's office for 8 years. And like Mark said, our former county attorney, Chuck Sinnard, was appointed a judge. So the remainder of his term is up next November. So I'll be looking forward to talking with all of you in the next year or so, and hopefully have your vote.
All right. So, Ron, what's a book or movie that had a significant impact on your life?
I don't know if it's cliche as a lawyer to say To Kill a Mockingbird, but I think that's what I'll go with. It was one of my favorite books growing up, and even though Atticus Finch was a defense attorney, and I'm a prosecutor, but that's really been, it's one of my favorite books. And
Did that inspire you to become an attorney?
It did not. My neighbor was a judge, and she took me to court with her one day, and I found out you could get paid to argue with people. And as a 5-year-old, I was hooked. I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do.
How about you, Mark? Tell us about a book or movie that had a significant impact on your life.
I'm a history lover, and so probably anything related to history and where we were originally and where we're going in the future. And the movie, it's got to be Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump, all right. Okay, Ron, do you have any pets?
I do. I got a dog in February. He's a German Shepherd Doberman mix named Peepo, named after my favorite soccer player. He certainly keeps me around. He's got a ton of energy and will not stop. And he's very unhappy that he didn't get to come tonight.
Oh man, Mark, how about you? Pets? No pets?
No pets. I do have a wife and 2 boys, though.
All right.
One of my boys is with me, and my wife is with me today, Tamara and Chase.
All right, one more question. What's a hobby or passion or project you enjoy outside of politics?
I love soccer. I've played since I could walk, pretty much. I watch soccer in my free time. I play in a far too competitive adult co-ed league. So that's what I spend most of my free time doing is
Where do you-
watching or playing soccer.
Where do you play?
All over, mainly either Altoona or the new Recplex. in
Okay,
West Des
yeah,
Moines.
the Recplex, that's nice. Did you ever have the opportunity to play at Soccer House?
Oh yeah, that's a rough game out there.
Soccer House was an old moldy barn where you could play off the walls and get carpet burns, and it was a pretty rough time,
Can confirm. Yeah.
right? How about you, Mark? Hobbies?
One passion that came about really within the last couple of years, and I had no idea at the time, but the family of William Wagner, who was an architect, lived in Dallas Center. The family donated his collection to the Dallas County Conservation Board. And at Forest Park are 900 books. He did the Hoover Library in West Branch. He did Mamie Eisenhower's home in Boone. He did Terrace Hill for when the Hubble family gave it to the state for the governor's residence. And if you go onto Dallas County's website, dallascountyiowa.gov, and search William Wagner's historical sketches, he's sketched in 77 of Iowa's 99 counties. There are about 500 sketches online because he was a world-class pen and ink sketch artist, and you as citizens of Dallas County own this treasure of William Wagner. But he also sketched churches of the world, monuments of faith. So you can see churches in Iowa, churches of the world, and sketches, historical sketches from all over Iowa, and it's very worthy to see. So that's become a
That's
passion to
amazing.
promote his work.
That's amazing. All right, well, Mark and Ron, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have to, these are our guys. We have to support these guys. And next up, we have Senator Whitfer and Representative Dan Gelbach. Good to see you, brother. Yeah. Good to see you. All right, so Dan, introduce yourself. What's important? What are you working on?
Yeah, thanks everyone for being here. I owe a big thank you to Dallas County GOP. I didn't know what a central committee was a couple of years ago, and was always Republican, was a school board member, and really got involved head first into Dallas County politics. Even though half my district almost is Polk County, Dallas County is my home. We've been here for 17 years. Live in Urbandale, and despite not having water for 24 hours over the last day or so, it's still a great place to live in Dallas County. I think it's.
Looks like you found a
We took a
shower.
shower this morning. It was great. Yeah, had some lots of friends though to give me options to take a shower, but we made it through. Yeah, so I own a business in Dallas County. I own the Mathnasium Center over by Jordan Creek Mall. So that's what I do as my day job when I'm not legislating things. But it's been great. I've been a freshman in the legislature. My seat came open. Carter Nordman, who couldn't be here tonight, unfortunately, he's my former rep, and Chris Hagenow before him, and Jack's good friend Chris. And I called up Chris and said, hey, should I do this? And he convinced me to. And like I'll use a Jesse Green line, Senator Green. There's never been a better time to be a legislator in Iowa. It's just been a great thing. When I was on the school board, I had to bash my head against the wall and talk at the board. Now we can just go in there and put up W's, and it's been a great session, and we're going to be looking to do more this coming year. So thanks for all your support, and we really appreciate you. Thanks.
Yes, and he may look like Clark Kent right now, but when he gets to the Capitol, he's Superman. He worked so hard this session and was just such a hero for parental rights and so many other things. And then we have Senator Whitfer.
Well, thank you for having me. My name's Jack Whitfer. I am in the state Senate. I might not look like it, but I'm the old guy in the Senate. I've been there 13 years and 6 years as Senate Majority Leader. And it's an honor for me to be here. And just want to say thank you to all of you because Dallas County really is, Kelly said it, this really is the defining county in our state. When you look at the majorities in the Iowa House and Iowa Senate, these are the competitive seats. And you look at the congressional seat that Congressman Nunn has. Dallas County is probably the important part to whether he wins or loses that race. And then you look statewide. We're going to struggle in Polk County. We have for several years. We have to make that up in Dallas County. So thank you all for what you do to help us win elections. But I would say this, for me, it's not just about winning the elections. That's the goal, to win the election, but it's what you do when you win the election, when we get that majority, when we get that supermajority. And my job as Senate Majority Leader, in my opinion, is to make sure that as Senate Republicans, we are keeping the promises that we make to all of you when we're out on the campaign trail. So every day that we're at the Capitol, we're thinking, what did we promise on the campaign trail, and what can we do to keep those promises? And that's what we've been doing for 7 years. And I would challenge any state in the country to put up a conservative agenda like we have over the last 7 years, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to do.
Yes, for sure. Well, welcome to our speed round. Are you ready? Sure. And you can both answer. Early bird or night owl?
I'm definitely a night owl, though I try to get up early, but it's been tough. My business is open late, so I try to. I have my mornings free most of the time, but I've been trying to get to morning prayer. My prayer group at my church meets at 6:30 a.m. For prayer breakfast, and that's on every Thursday. And so I've been trying to hit that, but there's always room for a nap late morning, maybe before I hit to work. But yeah, getting up for the legislature too, and it's good I can commute downtown and not have to travel too far. But definitely a night owl most of the nights.
Jack?
Unfortunately, both. I'm naturally a night owl, but once I had kids, they kind of changed that, getting up early. So usually burning both ends.
Hawkeye or Cyclone?
Cyclone, no doubt.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk, go KU.
Hey, you.
So my twin brother went to Iowa State, but I grew up a Hawkeye fan with my dad taking us to games, but I went to Kansas, so I'll root for both. I was at the tailgate on Saturday, had a Cyclone polo on, but for Senator Whitford's sake, but I could root for both. I'm kind of impartial. KU's gonna have a good year in football this year, and basketball is always good.
Dogs or cats?
Definitely dogs. I turned my wife, who's a cat person, into a dog person. So, yeah. And my dog, his name is Dexter. So Dexter's named after a serial killer, but he's not. He's a very fluffy white, nice Cavachon, and he's a very nice dog. And so I would say definitely for a dog person.
I would say neither, but I would say you think the lobbying's intense at the Capitol. The lobbying my kids give me every single day to get a dog is like nothing you'll see at the Capitol. I've resisted to this point, though.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Which Star Trek? So Next Generation, maybe. No, I would say OG Star Wars, probably. You know, it was released the year I was born. Original Star Wars, I would say.
I'm boring. Neither. I've never seen either one of them, to be honest with you.
Favorite food?
Casey's pepperoni pizza.
I would say baby back pork ribs, no doubt about it.
Beach or mountains?
I love snowboarding. I got to go mountains.
I'd say beach.
Beach, all right. Favorite music or genre or band?
I like country music. It's been a while. Probably old school, like Zac Brown Band.
Yeah, I'd say country, probably Luke Combs or Morgan Wallen, but saw George Strait is coming to Jack Trice Stadium next year, and I will be there for that.
All right, George Strait. Our last question for the gold. Last thing you do before bed?
What I really do, I should say, pray and things like that, but really it's checking Twitter or something like that. Probably what I really do, but we won't say that.
I don't get on Twitter, but I do check the news before bed.
Okay, I was looking for brush your teeth or floss or something.
I do that, in fairness. It's just
I drank water last night. I couldn't do that. So.
All right, well, give these guys a hand and make
Thank
sure you
you.
give them your support. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Jack, thank you. Yeah. All right, our final local candidates. We have Adam Infante and Julia Helm. Okay. And I was just told that we have Larry Elder in the house as well. Yes. Adam, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Adam Infante, Sheriff of Dallas County, exactly 1 year last week.
All right. Nice. And Julia.
Julia Helm, Dallas County Auditor, for a while, 7 years.
All right, and you're both rerunning, correct? Are you both running for re-election?
2024, we're both on the ballot.
2024, yep.
All right, well, let's get after it. When life throws you a curveball or you're at a crossroads, who's your go-to confidence for guidance, and what makes them your trusted advisor?
That would be my husband of 28 years. We just celebrated our anniversary.
Nice.
Very, very good answer. It's kind of hard to top your spouse in those situations. My wife, of course, but I like to go on long walks with my dog. It gives me time to sort things out, especially in the middle of the night when I can't sleep.
All right. So you're patrolling the neighborhood with your canine.
That's right.
Perfect. Do you have any unusual talents or hobbies that might surprise us?
He looks at me every time.
Unusual talents. I'm a second-degree black belt in Hapkido.
Oh,
Korean
good to
martial
know.
art. I went to Korean college and studied martial arts, and I went to Iowa State University just for martial arts. So I guess that would be a unique talent.
That is a unique talent.
I like to crochet stuffed animals and give them away, and I attempt to play pickleball.
All right. Well, that answers the sports question. Tell us about a place you've traveled that left a lasting impression on you.
Ireland, it was beautiful, and we have family, so we were trying to do some genealogy while we were there.
And how did that come out? Did you meet some long-lost relatives?
No, we just looked at the area that they
Yeah.
were from.
All right.
For me, the lasting impression would probably be Zion Park, Utah. The Narrows, Angel's Landing. I convinced my wife to do that hike with me, and I had to carry her up the last half of that. It's very scary. That was awesome. I'll never forget. I have a picture in my office of Devil's Bridge, which I've talked to Mark Hansen about. I love hiking and large outdoor trips, like excursions and adventures,
Right.
those sort of things.
Nice. I've got a burning question. How do you think you'd stack up against Steven Seagal? Hapkido, Aikido, sheriff versus sheriff?
Oh, you know your martial arts.
I do.
No problem. He's
No
old.
problem. What was that?
Nobody beats Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, he's 80-something and still throwing people around. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Any historical figure. Probably Jesus.
Oh, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer. I don't think she can top that.
I was going to say Susan B. Anthony because she got the women the vote.
Perfect, perfect. So, what values would you love to pass on to your kids and future generation? Most important values, and that's what we'll end with.
Mine is integrity and hard work, and they're both at Iowa State, so I hope they're both doing both of those things right now.
Yeah, you steal every one of my answers. And we didn't talk about this before we came up here. Really, I just want my kids to be kind, treat people with respect, be polite, courteous, reasonable, but kind more than anything. I think the world could use a lot more kindness. We wouldn't be in such a situation if people thought about that first sometimes.
That's wonderful. Yeah, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for coming out. Yeah, thank you, Julia. Yeah. So I think we're running a little bit ahead of schedule. Is that right, Terry? Okay, well, let's have Larry Elder come up And then after Larry, we're going to have a video message from Donald Trump. Yeah, have a seat right here. Good to see you. Yeah. All right. Larry, tell
hear
us
it for the
about
shoes.
yourself. Yeah, I love the shoes. I got my...
If they do the election based on kicks, I win in a landslide.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, about your campaign, and
Well, the quick story is that my father, my last name is Elder. My father never knew his biological father. Elder was a guy that was in his life the longest, maybe 4 or 5 years. His mother was illiterate. My dad was born in the back of a house. And my dad comes home at the age of 13 and starts quarreling with his mom's then boyfriend. Elder was long gone. Elder, by the way, was an alcoholic who would abuse his mom, and when my dad tried to stop it, he would beat up my dad. So rough life. He comes home at the age of 13, starts quarreling with his mom's then boyfriend. She sides with the boyfriend, throws my father out of the house, never to return. You're talking about a black boy, Athens, Georgia, 13 years old, at the beginning of the Great Depression. My dad said he cleaned up trash. He became a Pullman porter. They were the largest private employer of blacks in those days. And he came to this state called California, and a city called Los Angeles. And my dad was blown away. You could walk through the front door of a restaurant, sit down, and actually get served. So my dad made a mental note, maybe someday I'll relocate to California. Pearl Harbor, my dad joined the Marines. I know I saw a Marine here somewhere. EW,
right here,
yeah.
EW.
And I asked my dad, why did he join the Marines? And you know what I'm going to say? 2 reasons. They go where the action is, I love the uniforms. So my dad was stationed on the island of Guam. The war is over. My dad was a staff sergeant in charge of cooking for the colored soldiers. And my dad could look at a cake and tell you what's in it. So my dad goes back to Chattanooga, where he met and married my mom, to get him a job as a cook. And he's told, we don't hire niggers. My dad goes to the unemployment office. Lady says, you went through the wrong door. My dad sees colored only, goes through that door to the very same lady who sent him out. Comes home, my mom says, this is nonsense. I'm going to LA where I was before the war. I'm gonna get me a job as a cook. I'll send for you. So my dad goes to LA, he walks around, and he's told, you don't have any references. My dad said, I need references to make ham and eggs? And he offered to work for free for a reference. They wouldn't even do that. So he goes to an unemployment office, this time just one door. Lady said, I have nothing. My dad said, what time do you open? She says, 9. What time do you close? She says, 5. My dad said, I'll be sitting in that chair till you find something. My dad sat there for a whole day, came back the next day till around noon. She calls him up. I have something. I don't know whether you're going to want it. My dad said, of course I'm going to want it. I'm starting a family. What is it? She said, it's a job cleaning toilet and Nabisco brand bread. My dad did that for over 10 years, took a second full-time job cleaning toilets at another bread company, cooked for a family on the weekend because he wanted my mom to be a stay-at-home mom, went to night school to get his GED. After getting his GED, he went to night school to learn how to operate a small restaurant. The man never slept, which is why he's so grouchy all the time. So at the age of 47, my dad saved enough nickels and dimes, starts a little cafe near downtown LA. Fast forward, mid-'80s, my dad retires, owning that restaurant, the property, little property next door, plus a little home that we still have in our family. Not too shabby for an 8th grade dropout. And my Republican dad always said this about the Democratic Party. Democrats want to give you something for nothing. When you try and get something for nothing, you almost always end up getting nothing for something. Used to drive my mother crazy because she was a lifelong Democrat. You should have been a fly on the wall. Their arguments were intense, enthusiastic, but nobody called anybody a fascist. Nobody called anybody a Nazi. Nobody says you only care about the rich, you don't care about the poor. They argued civilly. I don't know why we can't get back to that. And that's one of the things I hope to do.
What do you think the biggest challenge that we're facing is right now, and how would you approach solving that?
The biggest economic challenge, obviously, is the economy, the inflation, the ridiculous war against oil and gas that Joe Biden and the Democrats have been pushing, this nonsense that EVs on par are better for the environment than gasoline-powered cars, the printing of money, the paying people not to work, the debt, the deficit. That's one of the reasons I have proposed, and I don't think anybody's doing this, anybody. I proposed an amendment to the Constitution to fix spending to a certain percentage of the GDP. Without doing that, government gets bigger and bigger no matter who's president. It got bigger under Ronald Reagan, my favorite president. It got bigger under George Herbert Walker Bush. It got bigger under W. It got bigger under Donald Trump. in part because much of our spending is the so-called entitlements. I say so-called because once you contribute something, I don't think it's fair to call it an entitlement. But Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and now Obamacare, plus other programs. And I'll use the word unsustainable. That is what Bill Clinton called them. That is what Barack Obama called them. But nobody does anything, because if you run promising to reform any of those, you will lose the election, because the other side will accuse you of not caring about the sick, the poor, the elderly. But they've got to be reformed, and spending has got to be cut, and sooner or later we've got to do it. Now, politicians, most of them, their number one agenda is to get elected. Number two agenda is to get reelected. And if you run saying you're going to cut stuff, as I said earlier, you're not going to get elected. The only way to really do the reforms that are necessary and the deep spending cuts that are necessary is with the law that forces them to do it, so they go to the public afterwards and then say, please don't hurt me, I had no choice. We have to do that. It's not pie in the sky. The Constitution has been amended on average every 10 years since it was ratified. Once I use my bully pulpit and explain to people, particularly young voters, these programs are not going to be there for you unless there's a serious reform. If I can do that, we can amend the Constitution to really get the spending under control.
What inspired you to run for office? To come down the campaign trail, to get involved in this? It's just a crazy amount of work, and what's driving you?
You know, I never thought I'd run for anything. I ran for third grade class president. Before you asked me, yes, I won that one. So I'm batting 500. I ran in the government recall election in California because so many people I respect approached me and asked me to do it. My pastor, Jack Hibbs, my good friend, Dennis Prager, without whom I would not be on the air, approached me. Another good friend named Lionel Chetwin, a conservative filmmaker, and then a local activist named Jenny Sand. They all approached me at different times. And I thought that they were nuts because California has not elected a Republican statewide in over 20 years. But this was a recall election. So many people were angry at Gavin Newsom for shutting down the government the way he did and for sitting up there at that French Laundry restaurant with the very people that drafted the mandates. He was not wearing a mask. He was not engaging in social distancing. And they thought of him as a huge hypocrite. And that spurred this movement to recall him. So enough signatures were gathered to recall him. And for a while, I thought maybe if the ball carried him the right way, if he got recalled, there were 46 replacement candidates, including myself. Whoever got the most votes would have become governor. So in theory, I could have become governor with as little as 25% of the total votes cast if the ball had bounced the right way. So I thought maybe there was a shot. I finished number one of all the 45 other candidates, and these were Republicans, Independents, and Democrats. I got 3.5 million votes. I got 49% of all the votes cast on the replacement side. The next highest person got 9%, which, by the way, 49% was the same percentage that Arnold Schwarzenegger got in 2003 when we did recall another governor. But since then, there are 5% more registered Democrats in California. There are 50% more registered independents in California, and independents in California vote Democrat. There are 33% fewer registered Republicans, and I still got 49%, the same percentage that Schwarzenegger got. So no matter how you slice it, it was a very successful campaign. I got in with just 8 weeks left. In 8 weeks, I raised $27 million. California has 58 counties. On the replacement side, I carried 57 of 58. The guy, by the way, that the state GOP wanted and the federal GOP wanted was a guy named Kevin Faulconer, two-term mayor of San Diego. Kevin McCarthy told the dozen Republican House members to endorse Faulconer. I carried San Diego County by 30 points. And I thought at some point, when it was obvious I was the one that the party wanted, that the Republican Party, state or federal or both, would at least give me verbal support, if not money. They did neither. So I've never been the fair-haired boy, pardon the expression, that the Republican Party has wanted. The reason I running for president is because I'm running as an America First guy. I'm running as a MAGA guy. I know we have a guy who's an America First MAGA guy, but there are some issues that need to be discussed that for reasons that escape me, we don't talk about enough, if at all. Number one, the most serious social problem in this country, by far, is the epidemic of fatherlessness. And nobody is talking about it, not even Trump. It is particularly... It is particularly acute in the black community where 70% of black kids enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother, up from 25% back in 1965. And now 25% of white kids enter the world without a father in the home married to the mother. And the stats are clear. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail. Now, I was recently on a program called Charlemagne the God. That's the host to whom Joe Biden said, "You ain't really black if you don't know if you want to vote for me or vote for Trump." I'm on his show, and I said what I said about fatherlessness, and he was resisting. And I said, all right, a young black man aged 10 to 43 is 13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. 60% of the homicides, the robberies, and the shootings in America are committed by blacks. A white male, 19 years and younger, the number one reason for preventable death of people 19 and younger who are white males is accidents, like car accidents, drownings, drug overdoses. The number one cause of preventable death for a 19-year-old male and under is homicide, almost always committed by another 19-year-old male, black male and under. Now, unless you're prepared, I said, to say that black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime, I'm assuming you're not going there. If it isn't fatherlessness, what is it? He had no answer. We need to begin talking about this. I've got some ideas about what we can do about it, but nobody's talking about this. And so much of this nonsense about America being systemically racist is driving almost everything in this country, and I don't feel that our party deals with it as aggressively as we should.
And we need a voice like yours in that race talking about that.
Thank you. Can I just say one more quick thing about it?
Sure.
Do I have time?
One quick thing.
Okay, one quick thing, because I'm a radio host, I can go. Biden goes to Howard University, commencement address. He tells these students, most of whom are black, the number one threat to the homeland is white supremacy. Are you nuts? Are you mad? The Anti-Defamation League keeps track of how many people are killed every year by extremists. Last year, 25. A few weeks ago, as you all know, a white man in Jacksonville, Florida, murdered 3 blacks because they were black. And Joe Biden, of course, made a comment about it, which is fine, and said that silence in the face of hatred like this is complicity. About 3 months ago, a black man walked up to a white man in Tulsa, Oklahoma, pulled out his gun, shot him in the back of the head, and killed him execution style. Went to another part of the same town, found another white guy, went up to him, pulled out the gun, shot him in the back of the head, killed him execution style. Admitted he did it because they were white. Biden didn't say a darn thing. Now, do you want to play this game? Most homicides are same-race homicide. Most whites who are killed by whites. Most blacks who are killed by blacks. But every year, there are roughly 750 interracial black-white homicides. A small percentage of the total homicides, but every year about 750. 500 white people are killed by blacks, even though blacks are just 13% of the population. 250 blacks are killed by whites, even though whites are 60% of the population. Now, if somebody like Donald Trump said, the number one threat to the homeland is black supremacy, he would be properly called and denounced as a race-hustling demagogue. But Biden says the same thing, and nobody says a darn thing. It's an outrage, an absolute outrage, and it's dividing this country.
Yeah. Oh. Thank you for your insight, and thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. Larry Elder. Thank you, Larry. Okay, so we have Asa Hutchinson. Thank you so much for joining us. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you, thank you.
And Asa, you've had a diverse career from law enforcement to politics. What inspired you to run for the office of president?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me what inspired me at the very beginning of my career to get involved in public service. And, my life unfolds. It wasn't always planned. But the same thing that motivated me to make a difference in my community and in the state that I serve motivated me in the political arena. So I'm trying to make a difference just like everybody in this room. I first became an activist. I was chairman of the Benton County Republican Committee when there wasn't a Republican Party in Arkansas. I later became chairman of the state Republican Party, so I've paid my dues in the trenches. I was fortunate enough to get elected to Congress and then as governor, but I never thought about running for president probably until, halfway through my governorship, and when I saw the need in our country for someone with the breadth of my experience. And when you look at fentanyl crisis, I understand the challenges as head of the DEA, and I understand what we need to do to secure our border. So I balanced a budget for 8 years as governor. I understand what we need to do to control spending at the federal level. So what motivates me is what motivates everyone in this room, and that is we love America, we care about our country, we care about our freedom, and we have certain values that we want to apply to the future of our country.
Exactly. And what do you think is the most pressing issue that we're facing right now, and how would you resolve that?
Well, it's the economy. It is excessive spending by this administration. We talk about how much we're spending in Ukraine, which I think they're saying is about $100 billion right now. The last spending bill that Biden did was $1.2 trillion, the Inflation Reduction Act. So just put that in perspective for a second. And his excessive spending is what raises the cost of food in the store, gas at the pump, and it's all about the economy, because when you look at, someone's eyes, and I was in South Carolina, actually Savannah, Georgia this week, and I asked a young lady, Mom, I said, what is the issue that concerns you the most? She was not political, but she just simply said, I want to be able to provide for my children and to make sure they have a safe environment. And that's what they care about, safety and being able to provide, and that is the economy, that is jobs, that is an opportunity that benefits all Americans.
How has your family been involved in your campaign, and what is their role, and how do they help you?
Well, I have a bride of 50 years, Susan, and she is very supportive. She'll be here this weekend here in Iowa campaigning with me, and she's going to be representing me at a number of different events across the country. She was one of the best first ladies. I'll say she was the best first lady Arkansas ever had. She's passionate about children and abuse of children and how we can support our children advocacy centers. And that's a mission that she has really made a difference in. I've got 3 sons and a daughter, and my daughter is obviously very precious to me. She'll be out at the next debate, and she's been here to Iowa a couple of times, and she rode at the Iowa State Fair with me the slingshot. Did anybody here ride the slingshot? I rode the slingshot, and so have courage.
So in keeping true to our purpose tonight, I want to ask you some other types of questions. If you could switch careers for a day, what would you do?
I'd be a lawyer. And I know that doesn't win me any votes, but I've got to explain it for a second. That as a person of faith, as a Christian, justice is a habitation of God's throne. And I know a lot of lawyers might not be a minister of justice, but I believe if you help people, whether it's in the political arena or whether it's in the courtroom or whether it is just simply giving them counseling or a tough time of life, that makes a difference for them. So I know that was a more serious answer than probably what you wanted, because I could say I'd want to be an NBA basketball star, but I was trying to be more realistic.
Sure. We appreciate that. And what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day on the campaign trail? Well,
I love to play basketball. I'm an international basketball star, as nobody knows. But I've played pickup basketball in Cuba, in Japan, in Israel, in Germany, in Switzerland, in Bolivia, in Mexico. So that makes me an international basketball player. And so it's been a habit of mine to play basketball. I've got my grandsons I play with now, which sound like they're like this, but I've got a 6'7" grandson. And so it's a pretty challenging game. I do that, and I love to read. I love to read the history, and so at night, I'll take a book and read biography that's inspiring, and you also learn, and it deepens your well for the campaign trail.
Anything in particular?
On reading?
Yeah, any biography in particular?
Oh, my. The A.J. Baines, the Truman race of the election of 1948 is an incredible book because you learn a lot about that election. And then The Great Dissenter, which is about Justice John Marshall Harlan, who dissented in Plessy v. Ferguson. He was the only judge that dissented, and he became known as the Great Dissenter, but incredible book. I enjoyed because you learn so much about it. And then The Troublesome Young Men, and that's a book, I think it's by Lynn Olson, but it's on three members of Parliament in England that helped Winston Churchill become Prime Minister. And they fought the battle against the Chamberlain administration that was appeasement. And they were strong and they supported Winston Churchill, but they didn't have the fame and glory that Winston Churchill had.
That's great. I could see my wife taking notes back there. I know she read the Truman book. I'm not sure about the other two, but those are the types she likes to read as well. Tell us about a place you've traveled to that left a lasting impression on you.
Wow. Well, every place you travel, but I'll say this, it's Israel. I've been to Israel as a member of Congress. I was met Prime Minister Netanyahu whenever he was there in his first administration, and then I went back as governor and I saw him in his second administration. And I've been able to go to Israel first as someone who saw the biblical lands and to understand the history there. And then I've been back to learn about their technology that we can partner with them on, their defense. I went there at Homeland Security and saw what they were doing in terms of protecting their own country and applied some of those lessons to us in the United States. And so Israel, because there was nothing like going over that city, going over the hill and seeing the old city of Jerusalem. It just takes your breath away. And in the last debate, nobody noticed it, and they should have noticed it, but I had a pin on. And the pin was not just a flag of the United States, but it was a flag of the United States with the flag of Israel. And it was to showcase that we have a long-standing relationship, partnership with Israel that should not be changed and altered or ended. That's why I wore that flag, and I was proud of that relationship with Israel.
Well, and that makes me want to ask you, how much has your faith played a role in your campaign and the decisions you've made to run for president?
Well, I am a flawed human being, like we all are. And so I don't hold myself out as a bastion of faith. But I do present myself as somebody that appreciates faith and is dependent upon a sovereign God to guide me in decisions and in the path of my life. And that is important. And we need to have a leader in this country that recognizes their decisions will not only be judged by the people, will not only be judged by history, but will be judged in the light of eternity as well. And just that simple recognition makes you a better public servant. We need to have, and your faith, biblically, we should have courage. And we need leaders with courage. But we also need leaders with a sense of humility, that it's not all about them, it's about the common good. It's about It's about doing the right thing for the people of America.
Well, thank you so much, Asa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have EW coming up soon. Oh, Chris, come on up. Nice to meet you, brother. Yeah, Christopher is here to represent Ryan Binkley. He's going to speak for Ryan. We love Ryan.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come to this great country. I'm going to get great land here in Iowa, and I am from Dallas, Texas, from the Dallas County and Dallas, Texas, and I'm a pastor from that area, and here to represent Ryan Binkley, and actually grew up in Arkansas, and moved to Dallas as fast as I could. And I'm thankful to be here. I'm representing Ryan Binkley. As we said, there's certain things that he is standing for that I believe that is important for us as a nation. So many things that people are saying is hope. How many know we need hope in this country? One of the things that's important, Ryan is a pastor. I know him as a great friend. He's a pastor of Create Church. He's a businessman. Not only is he a businessman, but he's also a person who loves this country. Now, being from Dallas, one of the things that is important, I've seen you ask some of the questions that are important. How many of you know we have a border problem? We have a crisis on our hands on the border, and it needs to change. How many of you know it needs to change? So many people coming over, and our government right now is ignoring that. But the truth is there's dangerous people that are crossing over in our border, and it needs to stop. And we need to make a change in that area. Ryan, we see that, and it's being ignored. Immigration, different things that are coming. We want people to come into this country, but we want you to knock on the front door. We want you to come around to the front door and not come through the back door. And we believe that Ryan is going to stand for that. We need health care reform. I mean, we need health care reform. And we also need, what is this? The economy, stupid. Is it not the economy, inflation, different things that are going on in our country where we need to change. They can Xerox money off, but Brian has a 7-year plan for that as well. And one of the things that I know each candidate has talked about, Larry Elder talked about this as well, and that is, how many of you know that the Republican Party needs the black vote? How many know that we need change instead of us being the divided states of America, we need a shepherd that can unite us. So we need to come back to being the United States of America. No matter where you come from, no matter what background, no matter where you've been, you come over to the United States of America because we believe in unity. And one of the things that I believe that has been a lie that the Democratic Party has presented to our African American, whatever, people of color, whatever they change the name to, is the fact that if you are a person of color, that you have to vote Democrat. And I'm telling you, that's a lie. I believe that when we talk about the Republican Party, we need to, the message of hope that we can bring all people of color together so that we can once again be the United States of America again. And unity is the main goal of that. Amen? As a unity, bringing people together for that. And the last thing I'm going to say is all roads lead through Iowa. Dallas County and Dallas, Texas, Dallas County here in Iowa. And I just want to say that it is, even though the Dallas Cowboys won their first game, try to figure that out. That means nothing. All roads lead through Iowa, and I am excited to be able to represent Ryan Binkley and know that because of whatever happens, I believe that God is still in control, and we still live in the greatest nation on the face of the earth, and it is the United States of America.
All right. I'm not done with you. Have a seat.
Sorry. I'm a preacher, so sometimes I get a little excited.
He was a preacher.
I get excited sometimes. Yes, sir.
So I've interviewed Ryan. I've spent a lot of time with him. He's amazing.
Great
so
guy.
how well do you know him?
I know him pretty good. He's a good friend.
Okay. Is he an early bird or a night owl?
He is a night owl.
Who's his favorite college team?
He loves UT, but he also does Baylor as well. He's a Baylor fan.
Favorite vacation destination?
Well, he loves to go to Mexico, but we'd rather, again, they knock on the front door instead of the back door. Did I say that before? Okay.
Is he a dog or a cat guy?
He's a dog guy.
What's his favorite book?
The Bible, and it better be. He loves reading the Word. He loves the Bible. He better have read my latest book that just came out, A Shot in the Dark. I was shot in a hunting accident years ago, and I just wrote a book about it called Shot in the Dark. My best friend shot me in a hunting accident, and I lived through it. And the premise of the book is that your life is not a shot in the dark. God has a plan for you. He has a plan for you. Not only that, he has a plan for this nation as well. So,
yes. And where can we find that book?
It's online. You can find it on Amazon. My name is Chris McCrae. It's, again, the book's called Shot in the Dark. But Ryan had better read it, and he also he reads the Bible.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christopher.
Thank you, guys.
Everybody
Thank you
give
guys so much
Christopher
for
a big round of applause.
allowing me to be a part. Thank you.
Yes. Tell Ryan hello for us. Yes. Now our last speaker tonight, our last interview is E.W. Jackson. He is new to the race. And here he comes. Come on up, E.W. Thank you. And he's got a book too. All these guys are writers. Writing and preaching, and you've got a radio show?
Oh, no, not anymore.
Not anymore?
I resigned from being a talk show host at American Family Radio to do this. But I used to be on American Family Radio, and we had stations that were heard in Sioux City and Waterloo and Burlington and various parts of Iowa. So yeah, I'm not new to all the people in Iowa, but trying to introduce myself to those who haven't met me or known me before.
So you're very well known in Virginia.
I run for office in Virginia. I won the nomination for lieutenant governor a few years ago. That was when Ralph Northam was first running for lieutenant governor, the guy who ultimately tried to close up churches in Virginia, and the guy who said that even if a baby is born alive after an attempted abortion, we can then decide whether to live or die. That's the guy, unfortunately, that we ended up governing Virginia for a while. But yeah, I was part of that race.
That's wonderful. And what led you to run for president? You know, you're a little late in the race, just a little bit, and you've got your work cut out for you. What led you to make that decision?
It's very simple. I love this country. I believe that it's the greatest place on earth for anybody to live, to work, to grow, to build a family, build a business, get an education. Some of you don't know anything about me. I was born into a broken home. I was raised in foster care for the first 10 years of my life. I was a juvenile delinquent. I was a gang member. I was an academic failure in school by the time I was in 5th grade. My life changed dramatically when my father came back into my life at the age of 10 years old and took me out of foster care. I went from being an F student in 5th grade to being an A student in 6th grade, went on to finish high school, of course, graduate from college, served in the United States Marine Corps, graduated from college, summa cum laude with a Phi Beta Kappa Chi, went on to Harvard Law School, practiced law for many, many years. I believe this is the greatest nation on earth, the greatest land of opportunity the world has ever known, and I'm not willing to let these Marxists and communists and Democrats and socialists and atheists and secularists take our country without a fight.
Amen. What are your core principles and values that you believe are most crucial for our nation's future?
Let me say, I really believe I am the most conservative candidate in the race because, number one, I'm saying something that I've heard no other candidate say, and it's this, that unless America comes back to God, the rest is shifting the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. This nation was birthed by faith in Almighty God. Our founding fathers said that our rights and liberties don't come from man, they come from our Creator. They were setting not only a legal and political marker, they were setting a cultural and spiritual marker. They were saying that we as a nation are ultimately accountable to Almighty God. And these bunch of ne'er-do-wells, these bunch of anti-American, anti-Christian haters are trying to convince us that there was something wrong with that founding. There was everything right about that founding. On this coming Saturday, I believe it is the 17th, we will celebrate the 236th anniversary of the most successful governing document in the history of mankind. Our Constitution is approaching almost a quarter of a millennium old. There's never been anything like it. I believe it's because the hand of God was on that Constitution and on our founding fathers. And again, I'm not letting anybody take that away from us.
Beyond your political roles, how have you been engaged and contributed to your local community? How do you plan to continue that engagement with the nation?
Well, let me just say, folks, everybody in this race other than Donald Trump is a long shot. So let me just say, I acknowledge that. But if by some miracle of God, I were to become the president of the United States, on day one, I would fire Christopher Wray. I would clean out the top echelon of the FBI. I would obviously fire, if he's not gone already, this idiot who runs the AG's office now, and put people in office who have one primary task: defend the constitutional rights and liberties of the American people. You will not call parents terrorists because they're standing up for the right to raise their children the way they want to. You will not put Americans on some kind of wish list, a watch list. And let me tell you something. I would clean house all these people who've been convicted on January 6th while we let murderers and rapists and robbers walk the streets. I would look at pardons for every single one of those people, because just like all those rioters in 2020 walked away scot-free, these people who were standing up on January 6th, most of them were patriots trying to stand up for their country. They weren't trying to overthrow the government. They were trying to secure our elections, and we still have work to do on securing our elections. I don't care what the Democrats say. There's some fraud going on in these elections, and we got to clean that up. And so those are things I would do on day one. Here's the other thing I would do, because, by the way, I don't call myself an African American, because I am an American. I'm an American. I don't call myself a person of color, because I've never met a single human being who doesn't have color. What does that even mean? We've all got color. It's just that our colors can be different. But I'll tell you something, on day one, I would close every diversity, equity, and inclusion office in the government and the military, because they're nothing but havens for Marxism and socialism and communism and collectivism, and every single one of them would be shuttered on day one. I would continue to speak to the colleges and universities and young people, and I would tell these college chancellors and presidents, if you want federal funding, which you depend upon, you better turn these colleges into actual institutions of learning and education, and not indoctrination camps. No wonder California's gone. They've indoctrinated a whole generation of people to hate our country. How in the world can we survive if we've got our educational institutions teaching our children to hate America? We got to tell them we've got everything to be proud of. I don't care what Michelle Obama said. For the first time in my life, I'm proud of my country. You ought to take a hard look at our country, and you realize you've got plenty to be proud of. And if you don't think there's anything to be proud of, you and your husband pack your bags and go live somewhere else where you think you can be proud. If it weren't for us, you'd probably be clicking your heels under a Nazi regime. It was our young men and women who fought and bled and died. Our young men who stormed the beaches of Normandy. Our young men who fought against communism. It's been our people all over the world fighting for liberty. And because of their willingness to stand, every veteran who's ever taken an oath and put on a uniform, we are free because of their sacrifice. There's so much to be proud of in this country. And let me just say, if I have to be the last person in America standing up for that flag, the last person in America standing up for our Constitution, the last person in America standing up for the principle of one nation under God, I will do it until I breathe my dying breath, but I will never give up. I will never back down. I will never give in, and that's why I'm running for President of the United States of America.
Amen. Whoa. I think you're getting a standing ovation.
Thank you.
Okay, if you think it feels powerful there in the back of the room, try sitting right next to him. God bless you. God bless you. I'm not going to ask you about your dog. I think. What about the border? What would you do about the border? That's a big concern with all of us here.
Well, and believe it or not, folks, you evaluate it for yourself. I believe I've got the most conservative policies on the border of any candidate. Number one, certainly finish the wall, equip it with all the technology needed to monitor it at every juncture. Number two, though, I would establish a zero-tolerance policy and try to get the legislature to pass this that says, if you enter our country illegally, you are forever banned from being an American citizen. I don't want to hear anything about DACA, because as far as I'm concerned, the dreamers are your children, my children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. They're the ones with the right to dream the American dream. You don't get to dream the American dream because your parents came into our country illegally, and I'm tired of Democrats trying to make us feel guilty about sustaining our sovereignty and protecting our borders. Number two, I would ask for a constitutional amendment that declares any person born in this country who does not have at least one biological parent who is an American citizen is not, by virtue of mere birth, a citizen of the United States of America. That's got to stop. That's got to stop. And number three, I would say, I don't care who you are, if you come into our country illegally, you will never get another night's rest, because I would fully staff ICE and the Border Patrol, and we will continue to hunt you down and kick you out. And if you commit crimes here, you are going to jail, and you are not getting out. And when you do get out, if you've committed a crime, we're going to kick you out of our country. Folks, we've got to stop allowing our borders to be overrun. We are being invaded, and it's got to stop.
For sure. And, you know, this is a hot topic, and there's a lot of different opinions and division on it. How do you feel about our support of the Ukraine and the money we're sending there?
I can't justify spending billions of dollars in Ukraine when we can't even secure our own border. I mean, let's take care of America first. Let's take care of our own people. And by the way, look, folks, the reality is that we are driving Putin into the arms of Xi Jinping, and these two dictators are now having a love affair with each other, in part because we're so busy trying to fight Putin that we're forcing his hand, and what we've got to do is figure out a way to divide them, not unite them. So as far as I'm concerned, Zelensky, who, by the way, is corrupt, and there's nobody who denies that. He is cracking down on freedom of speech. He is, in fact, a dictator of that country. I don't see why in the world we're asking the American people to finance his tyranny and his dictatorship. I think we ought to save that money to defend the sovereignty and security of the United States of America.
Agreed. So what's next for you on the campaign trail to make those things a reality?
Well, my next step is Iowa, and the next step after that is Iowa, and the next step after that is Iowa. Folks, I am going to be camping out here because, look, I've got a problem too, and the problem is I'm the only candidate who's coming at this from a biblical worldview, which means that I don't have a problem saying I personally oppose homosexuality because it is sin. It is sin because the Bible says it's sin. I don't hate anybody. I love them all. I pray for them all. But I want a constitutional amendment that says there are only two genders, male and female. You can live however you want, but you can't impose that on us and impose that on our children. And Ronna McDaniel is sitting up there as chair of the RNC telling Republicans we ought to celebrate Gay Pride Month. How can you celebrate sin? How can you have pride in sin? As president, believe me, there would be no Gay Pride proclamation. And in fact, I would declare from Mother's Day to Father's Day, celebrate traditional family month, because we need to be resurrecting the family, mothers and fathers raising their children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, one other thing I'd like to leave you all with is this. I believe that the Democrat Party has so indoctrinated and manipulated the black vote for its own interests that somebody has got to speak clearly and unequivocally to that issue. Now, not only is it a lie that racism is the biggest problem in America for black folks, it is also a manipulation that holds them down. Real quick, when I got ready to apply to law school, I went to my professors from whom I'd gotten straight A's, remember? And again, not bragging on myself, but on my dad and on my country. I graduated summa cum laude, straight A student, Phi Beta Kappa. I went to them and said, I want to go to Harvard Law School. They said, well, I would lower my sights because, you know, black people don't do well on standardized tests because they're culturally biased. Now, I'm thinking to myself with my lightning fast mind, well, you know, my ancestors have been here 200 years. I think I got the culture. So what's the issue? The issue is they were dumbing me down. They were trying to get me to lower my sights. They were trying to convince me that I couldn't make it without their help. But my beloved late father, who got me out of foster care, taught me, son, you can do anything you want to do. You put your mind to it. You work hard. This is the greatest nation on earth. You can reach for the stars, and you might land on the moon, but you've got to reach. You got to go for it. And I decided, well, you know what? I don't care what they say. I'm going to apply. I got into every law school I applied to. Harvard, Yale, Columbia, NYU, Michigan, University of Virginia. I didn't get turned down by one. I heard the same drivel when it was time to pass the bar exam. Black people don't do well on standardized tests. I passed 2 bar exams at the same time, Massachusetts and Pennsylvania, and passed them both on the first try. I didn't have to do it multiple times like John Kennedy Jr., remember? Took him about 3 or 4 times to pass it. And yet we're told, but black people don't do well. I am tired of the lie that America is a land of white supremacy and racism. This is the greatest land of freedom and hope and opportunity of any nation that's ever existed on the face of the earth. And I want every American to fulfill his or her God-given potential in this great land of freedom. And I'm going to stand up for America for as long as I have breath in my body. And so I'm asking you, caucus for me, help me. Show these people they don't get to choose for you who's going to represent you and who can run and who can't. I'm asking you to help me show them that the people get to decide, not the elites, not Ronna McDaniel, not the RNC, but the people of the United States of America and the people of Iowa. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Everyone, hang around. Get a picture with the candidates. Talk to your legislators.